What's up, guys? It's me, the Big Chungus. Today, we're not gonna be watching a video. I only use YouTube as my background, and whoever you see, go watch, subscribe. Whoever's on my background, they're really good people. Subscribe to people who I subscribe to. Anyways, though, that's not the point. Today, we're here to talk about Spider-Man, my favorite hero of all time. I said I do Marvel, like I talk about Marvel a little bit more in my earlier days. Um, let's talk about Spider-Man's movie career from 2000 from 2000 to now. Tobey Maguire, his first movie, goofy, campy. That's Spider-Man. Had a damsel in distress. Tobey played the part awkwardly, but not horribly. Green Goblin. My rating for him in general, I always love to rate my Marvel villains. 4 out of 10. He was definitely not my first pick. Um, he was okay though. I liked the way they used him. Almost like he was a replica of Spider-Man, but used differently. Second movie, the one with Doc Ock. It was alright. I personally, the second one's my favorite. But the listen, if y'all don't like me talking about this, skip ahead to when I talk about Andrew's second movie. Second one, alright, Doc Ock, gotta give him a rating, 6 out of 10. Amazing one. It's just your average tip of the mill Spider-Man movie. He's going through problems, villains created. He has to stop him. When he stops him, he gets the damsel in distress for a little bit, and after that, he goes along his merry way. His 6 out of 10 for Doc Ock. Third movie, I have two villains to rate this time. Movie wise, it was a little rushed, campy, and just wow, it was. I loved the design on Venom. Venom was unique, but I wish they just kept with the traditional bulky, like, I wouldn't say Hulk build like the new Venom 2018 has, but I also wish that they gave him more of a less Spider-Man build. They should have just kept like an they just should have kept it at least like a traditional bodybuilder type deal. Venom, I'm gonna have to give him a 2 out of 10 because, for one, his voice wasn't enjoyable. The character itself was rushed. The design was rushed. It was campy. It was just, wow, no. But not the worst one on this list. Okay, that was a lie. He is the worst one on my list. Sandman. Same rating as Doc Ock. He was more enjoyable, had emotional feels, but at the same time, he was kind of rushed within the third act with design purposes. 6 out of 10. Sam Raimi's villains don't get higher than a 7, because for one, people are probably going to dislike this video. But before you do, you got to understand there has to be a milestone. Sure, the movies were enjoyable when they were at their prime back then. But now, when you look at I bet you, if you haven't seen the Sam Raimi films since the early 2000s, if you watch them today, it's going to be nostalgic, but not be good as you remember it was. So, with all that being said, I have to say, Spider-Man 1 had to be one of my most least favorite Spider-Man movies. Before you say anything, I love Green Goblin. He's like my third, fourth favorite Spider-Man villain. But you can't deny the design looked like he was going to try and be at a horror-themed birthday party with Doc Ock in his arms. If you saw the hospital scene, it looked like he was something from a legitimate horror movie. And Sandman was just so emotional and a good villain to the point where he's like, Peter, I'm sorry. It was better than Venom. If anything, Sandman kind of made up Venom. So, put my ratings together. I think Spider-Man 3 of Sam Raimi's films was the best one. Second one, definitely a close second. But Sam Raimi is only the worst, of my opinion. Y'all are probably like, wait, worse? No, not a Henry series. I know. Listen, my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time goes to Andrew Garfield's first Spider-Man movie. I love it. The Lizard. The Lizard was such a good villain. He actually kind of scared me. Now, to be fair, he looked like one of those Michael Bay Ninja Turtles. Not gonna cap. He looked hilarious. But, besides the point, he was very good at being scary. Had a few dirty, deleted scenes, but what you gonna do? I don't really have much to say about this film. It's just a Spider-Man movie with much not wrong to it. It's like Spider-Man 2. It's good, but better. You know? Andrew, and before y'all start saying stuff like, which Spider-Man do you think is better? Which Spider-Man do you give the highest rating to? Tobey is the lowest for me, Maguire. But I still love him. His movies, they weren't the best Spider-Man, but compare it to the ones that Japanese made, it's a high improvement. But to top that cherry off, the Lizard, the reason why I like Spider-Man more than Spider-Man 2 of Maguire's series is because, for one, had more emotional feels to it. Two, they made Spider-Man seem more realistic with the emotional feels. But to top this cherry all off, the Lizard, in my personal opinion, he's not a very noticed Spider-Man villain compared to, like, I don't know, Green Goblin. And if y'all are wondering what I have to say about Andrew's next movie, boy, let me tell you. The Lizard, villain rating, 8.5. 8.5. Um, the design with his face is all I really have with him. Movie itself, it's also an 8.5. All of Tobey Maguire's films, I'm gonna have to say, I have a high standard for Spider-Man, but for Tobey, I'm gonna just say all of his movies are at least a 6.4. Second Garfield film, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The poster boy was obviously Jamie Foxx's Electro, but as we know, we had two more villains rushed in there, and it would have been just nice if the Rhino was at the beginning and they had him at, and they're like, "I am the Rhino." Like, have him say that at the beginning, and then next film, boom, you have Rhino. They had to make a movie every 5 years, so I don't see what the problem was with that. Green Goblin, what, what, what the hell? I would rather hear Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin say, "We'll meet again, Spider-Man," 100 more times before I have to see that movie again with Green Goblin. Now let me get a little bit more technical with y'all. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 would have been fine if y'all didn't want fan service every 10 seconds. Believe me, they wanted fan service and they gave it to y'all. Don't give them a bad score for what y'all wanted. It would have been fine. Just to have have a more emotional feel to it. Have Electro hit Spider-Man's weak points. Have Electro hit Spider-Man where it hurts. And they already revealed Rhino at the beginning, so you're already set up for a next movie. You don't even need post-credits. Spider-Man beats Electro a few times like he originally did. Electro gets up. And then he kills Gwen. And then Spider-Man gets mad, gets up, beats Electro, but doesn't kill him, and gives him up to authorities. Then Spider-Man then can go to a graveyard scene, and then we could just hear an explosion. And then Spider-Man's just like, and then it's like, next time. Then in 2016, instead of getting Civil War and Tom Holland's Spider-Man, we could have had a movie with the Rhino. And if y'all are wondering, wait, Spider-Man can just eventually break the Rhino suit. Have the man upgraded every now and then. Have the Rhino suit be too hard for Peter to beat. And who knows? I would have just loved it if it was just the poster boy in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It didn't have to be It didn't have to have Green Goblin. It didn't have to have Rhino. At least till the next movie. It could have showed Harry, him getting mad. And if they wanted post credits, Green Goblin could have bailed Rhino out, fixed the suit up, and said, "Time to squash a spider," or something. I don't know, a Green Goblin catchphrase. And then at the end, explosions, just something. All this movie needed was Electro. It didn't even need the Green Goblin. It didn't need him. The Green Goblin had such a horrible, horrible. So, I don't think I was kidding earlier about something being lower than that awful Venom that we got from Sam Raimi. I'm going to give it to Mark Webb's Green Goblin. Don't get me wrong, I loved the design of his glider, and I loved the design of him. It made him look scarier, creepier, and more pedo, just looking like he's about to kidnap children, than the original Green Goblin. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Like I was saying, we only needed Electro. We needed the poster boy. Like, if you look at, like, a DVD case for the original Amazing Spider-Man, it'll have Spider-Man web zipping and the lizard in the background, like, doing his whole roar lizard tug out thing. And in this movie, it would have been different, because we haven't seen Spider-Man. Because back when the Amazing Spider-Man was still around, you're just like, I wonder what we're gonna do. We haven't seen Spider-Man fight, like, someone his size with powers. Lizard was a huge hulky dude, and Spider-Man was still new at his job and beat him. And if y'all are wondering what my opinion on who the strongest Spider-Man is, I'm gonna give it to Andrew Garfield. You're like, but wait, Tobey did all of that stuff. And Tobey needed help from, let's see here, the new Goblin with explosions and practically just a copy of a Green Goblin, whose glider is way more slimmer and faster. So, and Andrew Garfield beat practically Thor and Green Goblin as well. In my personal opinion, Electro could beat Sandman. So that's already one villain down that I don't think Tobey could beat. And Green Goblin? Sure. Spider-Man beat him, but what would happen if Green Goblin did trick Peter, got up and started whamming on him again, plus had all of his glider tech again? It only took Peter a second, to turn the tables with Green Goblin in the first movie. But you also got to remember, Andrew Garfield beat Electro twice, and on the side note, took care of Green Goblin and an emotional death of Gwen Stacy, plus in the first film, an emotional death of Uncle Ben, plus the loss of his parents dying. And let's see here, in the first movie, taking on practically the Incredible Hulk with a tail. Compare that to what all of Tobey's done, which all he's really done is cried, beat a few villains here and there, but he's always lost first. With Andrew Garfield, the lizard, it's understandable. It's a giant Hulk lizard, and he was still new at his job. He was still new at being Spider-Man. With Green Goblin, Spider-Man lost, and I don't have nothing against that. If you're sure, Spider-Man beat Green Goblin on the first try, but that only got Spider-Man's ego higher. And eventually, Green Goblin was able to use that against him. Electro and the new Goblin that we got from 2014's Spider-Man movie, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Andrew is still doing his job. So I'm sorry to say this. Andrew Garfield is the strongest Spider-Man. But who knows? It might be Tom Holland. He's been able to take Thanos. Let's get to that. Tom Holland. Good Spider-Man. Beat the Vulture. Beat Mysterio. He learned how to use his powers to the fullest and has taken on Avengers-level threats. Plus, in the new movie, taking on the Sinister Six, which, who knows? Andrew Garfield said that he wasn't going to be in the new Spider-Man movie, but there are rumors saying that he might be lying to avoid things. So, who knows? But anyway, Tom Holland, with what I've seen, he is the strongest Spider-Man. But to be fair, he was beaten by Captain America and Ant-Man. Also, beaten by Thanos. But this is where we got to be a little technological for a second. He was able to hurt Thanos. He was able to make Thanos flinch, able to make him go, oh. It hurt him. He hurt Captain America. He hurt Ant-Man. Hell, almost defeated him. And has defeated Vulture, Shocker, technically Scorpion, and Tinkerer, wherever he is now, and the Prowler. Sure, they weren't weaponized or superized at the time in Homecoming, but they probably will be eventually. And let's get to the bigger stuff. We have Mysterio. He beat a bunch of drones and the Man. If you're like, wait, didn't he defeat the Elementals and, Mysterio himself? No. They were just drones making him imagine that. So it was just a bunch of drones. It made the movie look cool, but when you really think about it, it was just a bunch of drones. That's about it. But they were able to cause an Avengers level threat. So if they can cause an Avengers level threat, they could most likely defeat an Avengers level threat. Spider-Man was able to beat that. Alone, I mind you. So, I'm going to have to rate Tobey's whole series together 4 stars. Andrew Garfield, I'm going to have to give it a 9. Tom Holland's, I'm going to have to give it an 8.5. Because with that whole, it was just drones, I fooled you, ha 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 ha. I was mad. I wanted a real Mysterio. We all have the Marvel Universe, and it just kind of disappointed. So, in my opinion, Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man. And don't get me wrong, the second movie had its flaws, but it was still good. I'm excited for No Way Home. I hope you all are my big chunguses. This has been the video. I hope you like it. It's more unique than I normally do. Bye, subscribe, like, share, comment. Bye, my little butterflies. The big chunguses. Oh no, wrong intro. Bye, big chunguses.